Yes, it is.
Okay, Channel 79, we're on the record.
We are on the record.
This is the Environmental Protection Commission regular meeting and public hearing agenda, Wednesday, December 4th, 2019. First item is new business, EPC 45, 2019, Country Club of Darien, 300 Mansfield Avenue, proposing pond maintenance dredging. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 5 as lot number 40.
Tim O'Neill prepared the application. I told him I thought this was pretty straightforward, and so he is not here, but I mean, if you have questions, if I can't answer them, I can get back to you. You can't vote on that tonight because it needs to be held, I couldn't do it as an agent approval because it's actually in the wetland. Right, it's in the pond. But these are small ponds that periodically need to be dredged. They all have a little shelf of wetland planting, but that always comes back. But they're small ponds that it keeps sediment from going downstream, so the fact that they maintain them. You know, his last permit expired, so that's why he's back.
Does this go in front of P&Z because
No.
there's more?
No.
There's less than 20 cubic yards?
That's only if they're filling and grading with 20 yards. If they're taking this material out. You know,
Yeah, but they're going to, but they also said they're going to dry it and then distribute it off the rest of the golf course.
I don't believe it does, but I'll check. I'll find out. I don't think they've gone to P&Z before.
Okay, so we're not going to vote on this tonight?
No, I'll write up a draft for a decision.
Okay.
Is your question, they're in the middle of a very large project over there, Eric,
Yep.
for the large pond
Yeah, that's-
expansion, and is that what you have in mind as you
No.
ask?
No.
for
It's
the-
not, it's two other ponds.
No, I know the ponds very
Little
well.
ones. It's not
You
that
want
big.
enough golf balls in them, yes, Jim. We understand.
Yeah,
The,
I've seen them often, and my issue on this was, it's very straightforward. These ponds must have been approved to be created in the first place, and therefore when they came here, all of the various
I don't know if they
scrutiny was
I don't know
given.
if they predate wetlands. I don't know that, but
Okay.
I do know they've been dredged at
So
least
if they're just being
twice
maintained,
since
to
I've
me,
been here.
that seemed like a good thing.
Yeah,
Not
well,
gonna be expanded, just,
Not expanded,
Just
just
dredged.
cleaned out, right. But the other project went really well.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's actually going to be quite nice when they do the planting.
I was out there yesterday. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
So, anybody else have any comments or questions for Rich? No? Okay. Rich, are you going to write that up then? 'Cause
Yes.
I think it's, because this is just a renewal, actually. Okay, the next item of business is EPC 46, 2019. Mike Gedney, 145 Old Kings Highway North, proposing a swimming pool in a regulated area and upland review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 34 as lot number 23. Okay, for the commission, I think this will probably go to public hearing,
I think,
okay, because it's probably in the public interest. But just to prepare for the public hearing, if the commission members have questions or want to make comments so that the applicant can, more fully prepare in the closing hearing, it's fine. So why don't you go ahead for, 5 minutes, give us an overview. And, if any commission member has questions, please ask.
Hey, my name is Chris Olson. I'm the project manager for Wagner Pools. I'm here on behalf of Mike Gedney, who's one of the owners of Wagner Pools. Last year, Mike came to me and said he wants to put a pool in the backyard. Well, if you go back there, it's just a big expanse of grass, pretty flat, pretty straightforward. Then we got the soil scientist involved, and then the whole project has become a lot more elaborate. The soil scientist did his testing and told us that the wetland line is basically right at the back of the garage, which means the entire back lawn was deemed wetland. So there's three main things that we'd like there to propose for this project. One, of course, is a swimming pool tucked up right up against the back of the house. Vanishing edge with a spa and an auto cover, very nice. It's really going to be taking the place of existing patio that's there now anyway. The second component would be a very nice and extensive wetland mitigation planting plan. So we're going to remove a lot of the invasive plants like wing unanimous from the site as a whole. Do a very nice, very beautiful wetland planting along the back, and then also redo a lot of the plants around the house itself. The third proposed component of the project is this very extensive drainage plan. The site was not as simple as just throwing some Cultex in the ground like so many projects. This is a little bit more than that. So in an effort to sort of, well, actually right now, the way the site drains is the entire property drains to the backyard. The water just sort of pools up and percolates down. There's no real release into any adjacent properties or a stream or anything. So we're trying to pick up as much water as possible and get it underground. And so in the front yard, we proposed some Cultex to pick up the roof runoff of the main house. On the side, we're going to pick up the garage roof runoff and put it into some Cultex as well. The pool patio, which is actually pretty minimal, and replacing the patio that's there now, we're going to do like a big gravel drywall under the patio as some retention. And then also there'll be 2 large level spreaders across the backyard, which will help disperse the water and allow it to sheet into the back lawn like it does now. So I think that's a pretty good summary of what we're proposing.
So you're going to move into the upland review area by, what was it, 270-something square feet?
Yes. The pool right now is primarily in a spot that already is at like house level. It's about 2 feet above the rest of the backyard lawn. There's one triangle of the pool area here, which is actually over the wetland line. The rest of the pool project and masonry is outside of the actual wetland line. So it's sort of an exchange of a small sliver of space for this very large wetland mitigation planting, which is going to be quite an improvement from all the unanimous that's there now.
Jim, you have any questions?
No, this plan helps me see that little angle corner of the pool, sir, that you referenced in exchange for
This
what
is
at
our,
least on paper looks quite handsome. And where all those proposed wetland, native species are proposed, that's also wetland. So you're
yep, this whole area from the back of the house all the way back
All the way
right
back.
now, it's grass. And there's a patch of pachysandra back here in the middle of the yard. That's it. So they're really, from a wetland planting point of view, there's really nothing. It's just lawn. And that's the way it was when the current homeowner bought the property.
And am I right that the dotted line, the large dotted line,
This one?
that one, that extends right across the corner of the pool, that is a wetland delineation?
No, this is actually a
No,
building
down.
setback.
Down.
The wetland line
Yeah,
is, starts here behind the garage. then
And is there?
This dashed line
That's
here.
my question, okay.
That's it. It's quite a surprise, I might add, that the entire back lawn was deemed wetland.
When was the house built and the garage built? Do you have
Excuse
an
me?
idea?
I do not. No?
Long before I moved in,
When did you move in?
over 10 years ago, probably.
So over 10 years ago, he bought
I
the
think it's older
property
than
and
that.
I think it's, I mean, if, no, the owner probably knows much better than I, but if I had to guess, if I was asked, I would have thought it was older than that.
60s, probably, 60s.
Okay, yeah, it is. The garage, I think, was.
I'm sorry, if you're gonna speak, can you come up to the microphone?
Just the garage.
I'm sorry, I have to come up to the microphone if you're gonna speak, I'm sorry.
You become part of the record, sir, that's the
Okay,
reason.
sure.
Please state your name and your
Mike
address.
Gedney.
Thank you.
Yeah, the garage has to have been there at least 10 years prior to us moving in, just by the look of it.
Yeah.
The house itself, it's, yeah, probably 60s easily.
No, because it's prior to the wetlands regulations. That was,
Yeah, we-
that's why, that's because, was it 76, something like that?
74. yeah.
74, okay, so prior to the wetland regulations, that's the reason I was asking to, because there, if it had been built later than 76, you would have had to come here in front of approval, and then we would have understood the process. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Does anybody have anything to, Michael? Susan? Anything? No? Okay.
When, when do you propose doing the project, once, and if you get the approvals?
As soon as possible.
Could you do it now?
We might be
Too
able to
late?
do it and open the hole in the fall, or in the spring, I mean, sorry, in a few months.
I guess one other question is, this is the finished product, what we're saying. I mean, to dig a hole for a swimming pool, you know, not a construction engineer, but I imagine you need some pretty serious backhoes to go down and dig down whatever feet you need to go down. And so how's that gonna affect the wetland? And are you gonna be in the wetland with these large machines?
Yes, to some extent. We will have an access road. So if we come on the side of the garage here, there already is asphalt over here, so we're going to come along the side of the garage and turn. We'll have a gravel access road across the back of the garage to get to the pool site. When we dig the pool, we're going to be going right from the excavator into a truck, which is going to haul that fill out of here. Any other fill that's brought in is going to be for topsoil and grading plantings. So I think any real damage that we would do to the existing wetland will be confined, you know, within one roadway width of the back of the garage that is there now.
And that'll be picked up then, once the pool is done, the gravel that you're gonna put there, you're taking it up, or what?
Yep, the access road will be fully removed. We will have to install the level spreaders, which is really just a long gravel trough with an exposed top, and then finish topsoil and seeding the whole backyard, really. We will have to do some minor adjustments, like less than 6 inches of just grading to make sure that the level spreaders, work and distribute downhill. So it's pretty minor. And then also the big planting along the back should be done mostly by hand. So.
All right. When you come for the public hearing, we'll get into what remediation, okay, that you plan to do with all the grass and everything else. So I'd be very interested in that. So,
Well, my role in this project will be actually the construction of the pool itself. We have a landscape architect named Sean Walters who did the planting plan. He would be better able to speak
He
for that.
he will be at the hearing.
Great.
Sean is the
And
one
then,
who designed the.
Joe Rizzoli helped us with the drainage plan. So.
okay, thank you.
How deep will this thing be?
The pool? I think we were at 6 or 7 feet at the deep end, so not too bad. It's actually, the pool patio level is about 2 feet above the backyard grass level that there is now. Because there's a little stone wall, which is pretty much the delineation of the wetland line now.
All right, so when you dig down, you're in wetlands, okay? You go down 7, 8 feet. Okay, water doesn't like a vacuum, so water's going to be pouring into this thing from the soil. How are you going to keep this water out? Where's the excess water going to, because you're going to have a pump there. You're going to have a pump to get it out, et cetera. So how's this all going to work?
Well, when we encounter high water table or groundwater on our pool excavations, we will install like a dewatering pit. Just a pipe, say adjacent to the pool hole, and a pipe that'll go underneath the proposed pool with some gravel, so then there'll be a pump. It'll be constantly sucking water from the bottom of the excavation, and then we'll just distribute it into the lawn in the backyard. It's pretty standard practice, dewatering pit.
Rich, is it acceptable to de-water, this is in an upland review area, but I think I'd still hold the same candle Would you direct, this might sound like a rhetorical question, would it be acceptable to dewater onto the wetland?
Yeah, if it's temporary.
And if
During
presumably if you're
construction.
dewatering, you're dewatering silted, you know.
Well, it would have to be
silted water.
filtered. It would have to be filtered. We have to go through a filter sack and, go up against the silt fence. They'd have to have all the erosion controls in place, sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry, where's the, just to get a compass direction on the map, where is the north on this map? On the survey here, this plan?
Northbound.
Okay. So the
South.
Coltex are to the north, to the front of the house?
Yes, sir.
So technically, you could dewater away from the wetlands, right? You could have a pit, the applicant could have a pit where the Coltex would ultimately go, and then the dewater would have to be filtered into the wetlands.
Well, we could drop the Coltex in the front yard first, and then our
You just have
dewatering
a
could
hole.
go there.
You just have a hole, you don't even have to put the Coltex in first.
All right, well, anyway, we'll let you go back and think about that, and we'll await your changes, whatever you're gonna do for the public hearing.
So we need a solid plan for dewatering, is that the
No,
request?
you know, well, because you're adding and subtracting a significant amount of water to a wetland, so that's why, and we would just rather let the wetland just be, because adding and subtracting water is not, it's not a great thing, because you're destabilizing what's ever there. So, anyway, Kelly, Bill, do you have anything to, all right. Okay, can I have a motion to have a public hearing next meeting? Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item of new business is EPC 48, 2019, 12 Locust Hill Road, proposing new house construction and related site development in an upland review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 64 as lot number 103-7. I refer the members to a supplemental package that was given to everybody.
No, this is the one, there's two next door to each other, one
Oh.
each next door to each other. So this was on the original agenda, and the supplemental is the
I'm
one
sorry.
handed out. That's okay.
Okay,
It's,
okay, 48,
but
okay.
You
my
can hear
mistake.
them, you can hear them, in order right there.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to EPC 48, 2019, 12 Locust Hill.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Harry Rochel. I'm with McCord Engineering. I'm representing,
Spell your last name, please.
sure, Rocheville.
Thank you.
And I'm representing Fletcher Development. I'll be presenting two lots today. The first will be Lot 7, which is 12 Locust Hill Road. These two properties are part of a four-property subdivision, all accessed via a shared roadway that goes down to Locust Hill Road and ends in this cul-de-sac. The whole development is already, or subdivision I should say, has all utilities installed. There's existing sewer, existing electrical, existing water for all four lots. There is a water course that runs down through here and heads west towards Andrews Drive. And then it follows Andrews Drive to the north towards the river, Good Wives River. The wetlands line is here. There's also a conservation easement on all four lots. On this lot, it is the red line right here.
All right, sorry, I didn't see
Could you show that?
your marker. I can't see your marker.
Your light's not.
Yeah. Was there a way to make it brighter?
Just don't look at it and push the button.
Well, anyway, it is this red line here on our plan, it's
Okay,
a
fine.
conservation easement. And the limit of wetlands line is here. Upland review area is the second red line here.
Mhm.
What the
May I ask you a
propo-
question right there?
Sure.
Is that the Darien Land Trust wetlands along Delafield Island Road that you just pointed out with your finger?
Yes, I believe this property is the land trust here.
Okay.
And it'll be easier to see on the other plan.
Thank you.
It's much more pronounced there. So what they're proposing on all four lots, which is all part of a master plan that was proposed by Wesley Stout to all work in conjunction with each other. All four lots are going to have a single-family residence, pool, hardscape, and driveway. the properties, I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to drive out there, they're all ledge and very shallow ledge everywhere. So on all lots, we had to get creative with our stormwater system, and they're all solid pipe underground systems. Before the water enters the underground system, we are going to treat it with a hydrodynamic separator, and then to throttle down the peak flows before it gets back into the wetlands and water course, we will have a outlet control structure with multiple orifices and a overflow weir that was designed for a 50-year storm. When this subdivision was originally approved in the late 90s, the plan then was to construct a detention basin in the actual wetlands and water course just east of Andrews Drive and construct an overflow weir there. None of that was ever done, so we were put in a pretty hard spot to make peak flows work now, and I think we did a pretty good job doing that. The disturbance in the upland review area on this property is about 3,500 square feet. What we'll be doing is adding two level spreaders, one for the footing drain and one for the overflow from the detention system. To protect the wetlands, we are proposing a double erosion control barrier, silt fence, and silt socks. Also in the upland review area will be a retaining wall to construct the parking area for the driveway against a steep slope. They'll be grading around the retaining wall to get down to existing grade before the conservation easement, in which there will be no disturbance in the easement or the actual wetlands. Stockpile will be outside of the upland review area.
What's the driveway going to be made out of?
Asphalt.
So it's 3,500 square feet of asphalt. You said the upland review area disturbance would be 3,500 square feet,
Oh, the disturbance within the upland review area will be
Yes.
3,500 square feet, yes.
and that's asphalt.
Oh, no. Total, grading, retaining wall, the level spreader locations, and then just this small portion of the driveway will be the asphalt within the upland review area.
Okay.
I don't have that number offhand. If I had to estimate 400 square feet maybe.
Okay, so, all right.
And I should mention, due to the irregular shape and all the restrictions on site, the usable building area they had to work with on this one was only about 6,000 square feet. So it was tight all around.
So on the, on your drawing, like on the, kind of the southwest part, on the, how close to the wetlands are you actually gonna get?
Down over here,
Right. Are you actually?
To the wetlands
You're into
thems-
it, okay.
to the wetlands themselves, about will be 25 feet away, I would say. That conservation easement seems to be about in the middle of the upland review area in the wetlands. I'd say about 25 feet.
So like right here.
One question, and I'm still learning about how all this works, but where you're putting some of this underground, slowing down the water, have you checked for ledge? I mean, you say there's a lot of ledge up there. There's no
Correct.
problem where you're going to place these? Or you can-
So these, the underground detention, because of the ledge, the underground detention system we are proposing is a solid pipe system. There will be no infiltration. We will be controlling just peak flows,
Okay.
because infiltration is not possible on these sites.
Gunnar, any more?
Is this thing city sewer?
Correct.
Okay.
There's actually a pump station down on Andrews Drive.
I see where it says proposed water service, is that,
The water source is existing. There is 3 meters where that's connecting to. I think there's about 12 meters actually within these 4 lots, so it's all existing up there. All the lots were already stubbed for utilities as well. So it seemed like they were looking to do something, and for whatever reason, it just never happened.
Rich, to your knowledge, has the applicant tested the existing, or I remember there being some controversy with the stormwater management from the prior developer. And this property has been abandoned for many years. Has the infrastructure been tested?
Well, no,
Or
I'm actually,
verified?
I'm glad they didn't put the stormwater. Originally, they were gonna put a weir across the stream, which is no longer, the current, no longer the thinking of how to do stormwater detention. So, it's actually good they did not construct that weir.
The pumping structure, is that?
Oh, this,
I mean,
the sanitary pumping
Or
structure?
any- yeah,
I
everything.
don't know.
maybe you can explain, could you please explain what currently is on site and is it operable?
It is vacant. There's no stormwater on site. All the lots are vacant right now. As Rich was saying, the proposal, when the subdivision got approved in the late 90s, their proposal was to, in the wetlands, for stormwater management, let everything continue to run off and store it in this detention basin that they created in the water course and wetlands. So there was going to be a great more disturbance down there. And then that, once that got to a certain point, I believe they designed that for a 50-year storm as well. It would have overflowed, and then same thing as it does now, traveled on the roadside swale on Andrew Drive to the river.
Okay, so you would follow the pre-established plan and build that? That's
No, we are not going to build
No,
that.
we don't want to build that.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
No, we are trying to limit our disturbance in the wetlands as much as possible.
Sometime after that early 90 period, it became apparent that putting stormwater or using wetlands for stormwater detention was actually harming wetlands. I mean, they used to put road crossings in with undersized pipes and flood wetlands, or they build things like this, a weir in the wetland. They stopped doing that, and it's current practice now to not put detention in the wetland and to put it in the upland. So on lots like this, it was a challenge to figure that out with all the ledge and so forth. But it seems like, and I'll have Darren review those. I mean, I haven't done that yet, but I'll have Darren review it.
Is the electrical or the water infrastructure in place?
Yes, there's actually a
So the lots
transformer
have-
in the cul-de-sac.
Right,
Yes.
there's the transformer in the island or
Mhm.
someplace,
Correct,
and the lots have water mains fed to the lots?
correct.
Okay, so that's it, that's.
Yep,
what
and the
it's
sewer is routed all the way up until right here as well.
So the
And then
sewer's at the street, and you have to bring it to the,
Yep, and there's
Pipe into the
utility,
lots.
there's utility and driveway easements already established as well for all 4 lots.
on the plan, the stone wall, is the bottom north?
East.
It's east. So this wall at the far east, is that a proposed wall or an existing?
That is
stone wall?
proposed, and that is going to have to be structurally designed because it is 8 to 10 feet tall. And we did that height to, at first we had terraced walls and we had much more disturbance within the wetlands and did encroach into the conservation easement. So we looked at convincing them to get a structurally designed wall to limit the disturbance in the upland review area and stay out of the conservation easement entirely.
And that is a function of grading, so you're trying to,
Yes,
it looks like your top of wall is 76 and bottom of wall is 66, so.
yes, it
plus or
falls
minus
off
10
pretty
feet.
quickly over there.
Mhm. And this wall is within the wetland setback, correct?
Yes, it is in the upland review area.
It's not a delineation, it is in the wetland review area.
Yes.
Right, because here it is, right on the corner of the house, correct? The wetland setback, your 50-foot wetland setback is the
Yes, those go right to the corner of
bottom
the
left
house.
corner
Yep,
where the proposed generator is.
correct.
What is the square footage of the footprint of the foundation?
Of the house,
Mhm.
it is 2,800 square feet.
Did the applicant evaluate any alternatives to try and keep the house farther away from the setback?
Yes, this did go through a bunch of iterations, and as I said previously, since this is 4 lots, the Wesley Stud Associates who laid out the entire master plan for the 4 lots. Really did an emphasis on how they all fit together, where driveways are located to share each lot, make sure there's enough buffer between each house and lawn area. So it did go through a bunch of trial and error, and this was the most challenging lot, I will say, due to how narrow it is and how small the building area is in the center of the parcel.
Do you think having the pool is aggressive, considering if the pool was omitted, the structure could be further away from the wetland setback? And your subsequent retaining wall grading could be out of the review area?
It's a question for you.
Yeah, that would be something I'd have to go over with the client but I agree it would, obviously move the house further away if that pool wasn't located there. I know it couldn't be located elsewhere, and all of the 3 lots do have a pool. So I
Well,
think-
maybe some lots don't get pools,
Yeah.
because we try and stay out of the wetland area, right?
Yep. I agree with that.
The pool couldn't be moved? The pool couldn't be moved to,
No, the building
Am I right?
setbacks are right here, so it's all, what the building and the pool as shown are as far away as they can get.
yeah, it is.
Could you describe the amount of disturbance that would be in the easterly portion of the property for,
Within the review area?
yes, yeah.
So that would be 3,600 square feet.
There's going to be 3,600 square feet of disturbance in the upland review area?
Yes. And that accounts for the grading around the retaining wall, essentially all the grading, the level spreader installation, and then back up for the grading on the other side of the walls, including that small slice of driveway as well.
And if, to Michael's point, you remove the pool, I'd be curious to know what the impact is and what the driveway and everything look like after that. Because 3,600 square feet is a lot.
Understood. I could, certainly something we could look at. What's that?
Well, if you find there's a significant impact to the wetland.
Well, let's talk about that. I'm asking a question. I'm counting the level spreaders, I'm seeing the retaining walls.
Right.
What's that impact to
The feasible and prudent alternative is...
to the land trust
Yeah.
and the wetlands downstream?
Just to point out, the feasible and prudent alternative test is if you first find there's a significant adverse impact to the wetland, not to the upland review area. So I just want to point that out. It's difficult to determine an impact to the wetland. So if you can, I mean, they may be able to mitigate that some way if you feel there's an impact, but it has to be a direct physical impact to the wetland. So I think what they're asking for is, some recreational area and something so that in the future there's no lawn, there's nothing else on this property.
Right.
So I think what they're asking for is to have something that's, because there won't be a flat area, there won't be a play area. So I kind of steered them in this direction as far as keeping out of the conservation easement as being absolutely necessary, because that gets really complicated. they'd have to revise it or find a way to create additional easement area. So
And we'd
keeping-
have to agree to it.
And you'd have to agree to it. So keeping out of the conservation easement resulted in the current configuration with that wall. So that was my, my steering him in that direction.
And I'd like to mention that the level spreaders, it is necessary for them to be located where they are just to get gravity flow to them. They couldn't be located anywhere else on property.
Just something Richard said, so I'm asking you, sir, if you didn't have a pool, all right, so question A is, how many square feet is the patio in the pool area?
I believe 800, but I will double check. The pool is 800, the patio is 350, so 1150 total.
Okay. So that could be 1,100 square feet of recreational area.
Well,
The applicant just opted to say,
yeah,
rather than lawn, I prefer to have a pool and a patio.
Well, if the idea of removing that pool, the idea of that would be to move the house over to,
Yeah,
if I
I thought
understand
you
what
want- I
you
thought
guys
moving the
want, so
house
the
over
recreational
was-
area would, we'd be losing recreational area. Because the slope down here is far too steep for,
Is there a way to put the pool on the other, on the east side?
Why-
And slide the house over?
in the review area?
Yeah, well, then you'd have the driveway coming in.
Can you flip the driveway?
Flip the driveway is what I was saying, getting it, flip the driveway, slide the house up and put the pool area where the proposed driveway is. I don't know if it makes a difference.
Or if you had an elevated area that was flat, and that's where you put the pool, and you had an area that was at a lower elevation, that could be flat also. It just is at a different elevation. You're looking for level area for recreational space. It doesn't all have to be at the same elevation across the entire lot, albeit desired. I haven't visited, it's been a while since.
It's
I've
a lot of
been to these.
ledge.
I know.
Yeah,
You-
it's all
Some of
ledge.
these lots, you walk
Yeah.
out the back and you
Yeah.
just fall off the back of the lot. I get it, I
Yeah,
understand.
no, maybe creating a flat area would involve removing ledge, I think.
Well,
Yeah, any construction on this lot will be moving
But
ledge.
again, that's a prerogative of the applicant to develop the
Well,
lot. is-
I was going to ask if the commission wants a public hearing on this. If you can come back and visit that at the public hearing. If you were going to have a hearing, I'd say, let's visit it at a hearing, and get into more discussion.
Well, what's the feeling of the commission? Jim? The public hearing?
I'm not sure you needed that, but I'm open-minded to it, Eric. I'm kind of listening to the conversation if the home were able to be, let me get this right, move 25 feet, let's call it, to the west to accomplish some of the good questions Michael's asking. And instead of making the pool then sit down on the eastern side, could the pool then sit perhaps in a space that's to the south of the new home? Does that help solve some of these
It would have to
concerns?
be either east or west, because the building setback line for the pool as well is this line right here.
Yeah, that's right along the side.
I guess what I'm getting at is if they move the house out and up and don't have a pool, someone will be coming back to you in the future saying, can we have a pool in the upland review
Yes.
area? And the answer would be, well, are you impacting the wetlands? And if not, what is the reason why you can't have a pool there? And you'd be trying to find a reason why it can't go there.
Right, and we figured the pool on the west side would be, the
So-
least disturbance to the wetlands, being the furthest away it could be installed, because we're gonna have to, excavate much more there than for the driveway construction.
Yes, I see that.
Do you think the land trust would want to have the opportunity to opine on construction activities adjacent to the land, the protected land?
Have they seen the plans?
Don't know we had a public hearing.
I don't know.
They haven't been advised of this, have they?
No, well, that's why
Yeah,
we haven't
you know.
advised anybody.
It's a giant wall.
Pardon?
It's a giant wall.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, I didn't think we should have a public hearing, just out of deference to the land trust and from a personal perspective, but I'm one of seven, so, you know, I don't know. Gunnar, what do you think? You think we should have a public hearing on this?
I think it would be a good idea, absolutely.
Ken?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so let me have a motion to have a public hearing. Thank you, Gunnar. Second. Thank you, Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's what we'll do then.
On to the next lot?
Yeah, yeah, let's go to the next lot. Okay. The next lot is EPC 49, 2019, 8-14 Locust Hill Road, LLC. 14 Locust Hill Road, proposing new house construction and related site development in Upland Review area. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 64, is lot number 106B. Same house.
Good evening again. You need my name for the record again?
No, I
Okay.
think I'm good.
All right. So, yeah, this is lot 4, number 14 Locust Hill Road. This one has a much larger conservation easement. The lot itself is 1.4 acres. The easement itself is 0.9 acres. You can see the same red line here delineates the easement, which is all this location here. That detention basin I was talking about on the last one, I said you'd be able to see much more on this plan, would be located in this wetlands and water course here, with the weir constructed adjacent to Andrews Drive. So all the so this would fill up during storms, create a mess, and then spill over to Andrews Drive and follow its way north to the river.
What is the relation to the other property?
The other property is located right here. Same thing as the other, single-family residence, pool, hardscape, driveway. The wetlands line for this one is right here, and the upland review area line is here. So again, a small portion of the driveway is within it. Level spreader again to achieve gravity flow from the stormwater system and erosion controls. On this one, the stormwater system itself needed to be located in there to capture the driveway and the house. It was the only location on site, as you can see. Again, we didn't have much area over here, another tight lot. I believe this lot was actually developed before, with the house in generally the same location. I'm not sure when it was demoed, but there was a house on this lot. It was one of the 4 that were actually developed, I can tell.
So, at the end of the day, what I see here, you're gonna have a driveway that's part of the upland review area, correct? Is that so? What I'm trying to do is define the disturbance to
Yes.
the upland review area, and that's part of the driveway?
That's part of the driveway, that is the stormwater system, and part of the patio in the level spreader.
Where's part of the patio? I don't see that.
This
Right there? Oh, so, okay. So,
can't be more than 50 square feet.
okay, so it's a small.
Small area.
Okay, thank you, got it. Okay. Got it. All right. Yes, color. Well, I can see that. All right.
And this one, the driveway on this one actually passes through the previous lot, lot 7, but there is a driveway easement established as, the property line for this one is right here, so there's an easement in place to be able to access that cul-de-sac. Again, served by the sewer, same water, same electrical services that are already installed. House is pretty much the same size, same footprint.
Is this a retaining wall around the whole?
Around the backside,
Yeah.
yes, that is a terrace retaining wall. Those are both 4 feet or less, so those ones will not need to be structurally engineered. And that is, again, slopes fall off fairly steep towards Andrews Drive, right after where that retaining wall is located. There isn't actually an existing wall already out there. This wall right here, it's shaded a little lighter. That wall is existing, and I want to say it's about 14, 16 feet tall, very tall.
What is top of wall on that?
On the existing, 76, and bottom of wall is about 63, so about 13 feet tall. And again, that wall is existing. And the sewer easement for this, just for your knowledge, goes from the cul-de-sac all the way down through here to Andrews Drive, with the pump stations on this slot right here. Again, all topo, goes to the south towards the water course existing.
Say that again, please.
The existing topography all slopes north to south towards the wetlands and water course, where all the existing runoff, is there's nothing capturing. It's just sheet flowing over the ledge and through the woods down to the water course. So again, we're throttling that down with the underground detention system, solid pipe again, no infiltration, with the outlet control structure, and again, putting it into a level spreader to promote sheet flow down to the wetlands. So we didn't want to daylight any pipe and have any point discharge. Again, trying to protect the wetlands as much as possible.
What is the area on the lower part, below the house, that square, where it says roof leader across? It's
Right here?
labeled- No, the other end, down to the bottom. It's
Driveway.
gray, below the pink.
Driveway. Yeah.
That's driveway?
Right here?
No.
Below, just attached to the house. East, just a feet. Next to the
Where?
orange.
Yes.
That is just a pergola patio. It's a patio, for all intents and purposes.
Is that impervious, or what are you gonna make the
This is,
patio
I
out
think, a
of,
driveway.
or haven't you decided?
Yeah, that'll be impervious.
Yeah, that's the driveway.
No roof though, it'll just be a pergola roof on it. The entire house and the entire driveway will be captured. That'll be allowed to sheet flow.
So just to clarify, the short wall, the terrace wall, the first terrace wall, that is top of wall 75,
Yes.
that has a little hook around the proposed pool.
Yes.
That hook on the southerly side, that is the limit of the 50-foot setback.
Yes,
for
the
whole river
red, yeah,
area.
the red line that's shown here, yeah. That's the same line that you're looking at.
And-
Yeah, the back of that wall is pretty much on the setback line. And we'll fade into existing grade because the pool is at 75, which is the existing grade there.
And that continues across cuts the patio, and then also cuts the driveway. Is the north, south, west, is that where the garage entrance is? Where you have a square, yes.
Yes.
Is that, the cars would pull into the garage, which is what you have shaded pink, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just trying to understand.
Yep, no, that's okay.
And you have, are those catch basins?
Yes, the two catch basins.
On the
Yep.
corners of the, okay.
Yep. And again, all those catch basins will route, with the roof leaders, route to a hydrodynamic separator to treat the stormwater before it goes into the solid pipe system, because we can't have that infiltration, so we want to treat it somewhere before it goes back into the wetlands.
And then, so if you're at approximately, either catch basin, you're at approximately 72 foot of elevation? And then, that's correct, right?
The
About
catch
70
basins are set at 75.2, which is.
Oh, they are at grade, okay.
Existing
70
grade, yep.
GRT, is that great?
Great, yes,
Yeah,
great
okay.
elevation,
So
yep.
you're at 75, and then the top of the existing retaining wall is at plus or minus 70, right?
I believe it's more 76 at its peak over here. This retaining wall?
No, I'm at the driveway. This map is, there's a lot in this map. So what I'm doing is I'm pointing to that catch basin right there.
Yep.
Okay, and then this retaining wall, this stone, that's a stone wall, right? Or is that,
Off
is that
property?
silt, is that silt protection?
That's
Sorry.
silt protection on our
Okay.
property. There's a wall off property.
Okay, so but you're at plus or minus 70 there, right? With the silt fence?
At the corner here, it's actually, looks like it is 80. So that's a bunch of ledges coming out.
Okay. And so now we're down at the limit, I'm just trying to, what is the elevation of limit of the wetlands? Are you still at about 70 here? Just trying to get an idea of where all
It looks
the,
like more like 60 at the limit of wetlands.
okay.
Yeah. 60, 61.
So there's a material change in gradient on this
Yes,
side?
yeah, once you get out of the building area, there's pretty significant slopes down towards the wetlands.
So how much filling are you doing to construct the house?
It's actually mostly cut. There will be blasting that occurs. I believe they are submitting a blasting plan, but yeah, it's all ledge, so they gotta get the foundation in, and it just worked well to get all of the houses, into one plan.
So is there a blasting plan for the prior application?
I believe for all four, they did it all in one.
So there's gonna be a material amount of excavation to build the homes, a material amount of blasting, chipping, hole ramming to get the ledge out of the properties. The properties are pretty tight to all the setbacks. With the construction is in the upland review area, so by definition, this application will probably have the most disturbance of all applications that we've seen within a while. So I think we should, I'm just being agnostic to this.
All that disturbance will be outside of the upland review area, though.
Well, you have your proposed, so there's no, well, maybe you should just speak about the blasting plan and the excavation, so we understand what you're talking about.
Well, so the basement on this one is at 65.8, and I mean, the existing grade at the high point of both of these properties is about 78. So there's 10 feet of cut, or I guess on this one, yeah, blasting that is going to need to be done. I'm not sure what they propose to do on that yet. I don't think we've gotten that far, but it is something that's going to have to be looked at for the course of construction.
I think we might want to know that answer. Do you know how much cubic yard material is going to be excavated off the site?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I think that would be important for the commission.
Well, I know a lot. They're going to retain a lot of it on site to build the walls. A lot of the walls are going to be built with boulders that are from site and a result of the blasting. Otherwise, they will be hauled away.
I understand that, but what I'm asking, what's the order of magnitude? So when you come back, you should speak to that.
Okay.
Kelly, Bill? All right,
Would this be part of the public hearing, or would this be a separate issue?
this is a separate,
Separate application.
yeah, it's a separate one.
It's a separate
It is
application.
a separate, okay, should we go for a public hearing on this also?
Sounds
Somebody-
right.
You still got the land trust issue, and so can't you hit them both at the same time?
Yep. Oh, they'd be next month. So the next public hearing would be next month. All right, so can I have a motion to move this to a public hearing? Thank you. Doesn't, thank you, Gunnar. All in favor? Okay. Okay. Now we're moving to the public hearing section. The next item of business is EPC 40, 2019, Michael Donahue, 765 Hollow Tree Ridge Road, proposing a two-lot subdivision and construction of a new house. Related site disturbance in a regulated area and upland review area. This site is shown on Assessor's Map number 3 as lot number 38. This has been continued from November 6. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it. He has it. Doug, he has it.
Yeah, okay.
I think you did.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, you
Unless
have
it's
it.
something.
No, no, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Good evening, Doug DeVesta, I represent the applicant. What I passed out for you tonight is the revised plans to address Joe Kennis's comments. There's also the letter that responds to Joe's comments dated November 1st. I'd like to go over the revisions to the plans. So what we've got here, the plans in front of you are what we call the revised plans. There was questions regarding the detention system that we had. I can show you those other plans so you can go back and forth so you can see what we've changed. So this is the plan that we had shown you at the last meeting there. We had detention systems behind the house. We didn't have any patio around the pool, things like that. So we went through and we revised the plan. We did the soil testing, did some hand test holes within the drainage area, and found that really the soils weren't that good to do any kind of infiltration in the system, do underground detention systems. So what we're proposing to do is do a bioretention area south of the house there. So we'll have the runoff from the driveway, and the roof, part of the roof area is going into the detention area, or the bioretention area, as well as the patio around the proposed pool, to collect that water, treat it, and then meter it out to a level spreader, and then out towards the wetlands. We've also provided a small detention area for about a quarter of the house there for the roof area itself, and then we're providing detention for the footing drains, as was asked by the commission. Those are really the main changes. Some of the minor changes was adding the stockpile area, revising the grading on the driveway, the lower driveway. We're keeping, if you've been out to the site, there's like a little island, two entrance ways. We're closing one off, keeping the other one, so we're not really touching that driveway grading wise. So make sure that was taken care of. We removed the catch basins in the driveway, because now we're allowing everything to sheet flow across the driveway into the bioretention. That's why I have a little bit of a swale here to collect that water, so it doesn't go over the septic system, then drain down into the bioretention area. We've got Matt Pop here, who went through and laid out a planning plan for that and mitigation for the wetlands itself. We beefed up some of the silk fence and hay bales around what Joe had asked us to provide around the two wetlands areas. Added some stake hay bales with silk fence around the wetlands area on the west side of the house there. And that's, we also added the proposed patio around the pool. We also provided water quality volume calculations, and that's what relates this to the detention. So the first maybe foot or so, or 6 inches of water, that's going to be our water quality volume. Anything above that is detention. And then we're providing a control outlet through a little weir system. Just basically take a D-box and create a V-notch weir to that to control the 2, 10, 25, and 50-year design storm. And Joe has reviewed all that, and I believe you've got a letter from him stating that all his comments have been addressed. I think those are really The main issues that we talked about, those are the changes that we made. The plans are in front of you right now, are the ones that are revised, what you see on the board here, and also a letter addressing Joe's comments from the 1st of November. At this time, I'll like to ask Matt to come up and go over through his mitigation plans and the planting plans at this point.
Did the wetland creation go away? The wetland
No.
creation areas?
Matt will go over that.
It's not on here.
No, it's on the landscaping plan.
That's this one.
Good evening, Matthew Poff, landscape architect, professional wetland scientist, environmental land solutions. At the last meeting, we had 2 mitigation areas. Here's the wetland finger right here in the center. One was right here where we were lowering the grade to match the elevation of the wetland here. That mitigation area stays the same. And then the bioretention area that was over here was shifted down to this area right here, and it was enlarged in size. And then we were asked to see if we could do mitigation on the northern property up here, since the wetland disturbance is on this property. So I went back out to the site. In this area right here, there's a wooded area, and there's kind of a meadow area. In this meadow area right here, we're adding 3 swamp white oaks. And then the second area on the northern site, there's a small, narrow wetland corridor right through here. There's actually a pipe that runs from this wetland across and discharges here, and it flows through this. This corridor drainage swale is mainly just a lawn area, and so we replanted that with the native shrubs. So we have kind of 4 areas now, 1, 2, 3, 4. The disturbance, the mitigation to wetland disturbance, or the wetland creation to wetland disturbance is about 2.5 to 1 now. Before it was about 2 to 1. And that's, I think, being conservative. This wetland area down here, which I was taking credit for, is probably going to be larger than what I had. So that's it quickly. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
The neighbor's concern. The neighbor's concern to the south, that she has a little pond there, and, you know,
Down here.
I just want to make sure that that her concerns are addressed.
Yeah, we
This-
believe.
With this change, I believe it is, but I just wanted to.
Right, no, yes, we did. I think also she had some questions about adding some more trees and stuff like that, and I think Matt has done that with the detention area, with our bioretention area down here, adding some more vegetation and trees down there. Again, we're controlling the water on our site. So really, we're not increasing the runoff off-site. So there should be no impacts to her property at all.
Okay, for the new house perk test, how deep before you get water?
I'm sorry?
How deep before you get water on where the new house is?
Oh, the existing house there, I think we were down,
The new house, I thought,
Yeah, we
the
had-
old house was to the top, was at the top of the new
this
house.
is the existing house. This is
So I
the
can't
proposed
touch
house,
it, but
right.
this one, yeah.
Right. We were down, I think we were at 37 inches on test hole, on one of the test holes. Pull my plan up again. "37 inches to test hole 107 there to modeling. Modeling is an indicator of seasonal high ground, potential seasonal high groundwater. Really didn't hit any ground, physical groundwater at that time, so about 37 inches down.
And the basement?
Well, we're down, I think I gave, last time I gave you a sheet there, we're about, and we raised the house up, so we're only in the groundwater, we're only in the ground about 4.5 feet into the ground.
Okay, 4.5 feet.
So we're about
4 inches.
about 1.5 feet into the potential groundwater modeling area.
Right. So are you expecting to then have some pumps?
Yes, we have a sump pump, but we discharging to this area right in here. And we did a test hole and perk test there, and the ground can handle the additional water.
Okay, so you're running the sump pump into that? Okay.
Correct. And that was the question, and you had asked that question.
Yep,
and we did
yep, thank you.
We provided a detention area for that.
Good,
Yep.
thank you.
You want to hear from Joe at all, or he's here tonight?
Sure, can't let Joe go on.
Right, I mean, he came all this way down, you got to let him talk or something, you know?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Joseph Canis. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. We're retained by the commission to review the stormwater management and the sediment erosion control aspects of the application. As Doug stated, I issued a letter on November 1st, had about 25 comments on it. Since then, Doug has responded to those, and I issued a letter on November 26th stating that all my comments have been addressed.
Excellent.
Okay. Any questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
For your work.
Doug, could I ask a question?
Sure.
I hope I'm reading the plan that Matt put forth correctly, and you used the word several times tonight, wetland creation area. There's one listed as number 1, and number 2, you add them together, you've got 2,890 square feet. That's new wetlands.
That's correct. Yes. That's new wetland areas that are created in an upland area.
And their adjacency to the proposed new residence, does that throw any curveballs at us once that wetland that you designated, which sounds like a terrific exercise?
There is a...
particularly on its way to that pool, that pond, natural pond that the neighbor
Crooked
commented
Mile,
on.
yeah.
I did propose along the edge of the wetland bioretention area, a boulder barrier so that there's this distinction.
Which I think you show.
Great.
It shows, there's stones, the boulders are here, so then you can tell where the limit is, where the lawn is, and where the natural area starts. Yeah, because without those, I think I would be concerned.
Yep.
Thank you.
Do you start another 50 foot from that, though?
That's really where
That's what I'm wondering. I mean, that
Yes.
should be
That's the curveball I was
That shouldn't be the
asking about.
curveball, but you want.
Well, you do, yes,
You do.
once it's established. Yeah, it would.
That's why it's a big deal. Bill, that's why, that was the reason for the question.
Yeah.
And because if all of a sudden they establish a wetland and all of a sudden we're building within a potential
Well, no,
upland review.
it's not, it would be after the house is established and after the wetland's
So if
established.
that house went away, the next house coming up would have to be 50 feet further away.
Yeah,
Potentially.
I would hope that it'll last a while.
Right.
But yeah, if they wanted to do change their deck out or something, then, they might be dealing with an agent approval if they wanted, some small addition or bump out or something, they might be coming back for a wetland permit, yeah.
It's a feature to appreciate Matt's work. It's a benefit.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it's good.
It's an amenity.
Yes, I think it's great.
I never liked the pool.
Matt did a good job.
And again, we did have, in this area, we do have some, a couple of trees. I think there's some pin oaks and some shad, so we do have some woody vegetation along the back of that.
Okay.
Does swamp white oak, did you say swamp white oak? Do they grow acorns?
Mm-hmm, yep. It's actually a good street tree, very good street tree, so we use them quite a bit in urban areas, so.
Are squirrels the only animals, the only habitat that you're laughing at me? Are they the only habitat that benefit from the
Now,
acorn?
if you do any birding, like in the springtime, and like the first and second, third week of May, you'd be looking for oaks. Now, I go out, and when I go out, I'm only looking for oaks. I'm not looking for red maples or sugar maples or hickories. It's oaks, and the oaks are very valuable for migrating warblers. And you ask any birder, and that's the tree they're looking for.
Okay.
So that's why I use quite a bit of them.
Beautiful trees.
Yeah.
Nice.
How close is that neighbor's pond, which I think is, I'm guessing it's a natural pond,
Yeah, it is.
to the property line? I think it's here, because I've seen it
Yeah, it's,
many years.
I should have brought the plans with me, because I worked on that property as well years ago.
But it's not far
probably
from-
about 50 feet down,
Right, okay.
down here.
And will those wetlands have the newly created wetland area too? Zero impact, benefit, no benefit, no, to the drainage through that pond?
Well, we'll have a benefit for one thing, because again, we're you're taking the water quality, so we're taking the quality of the water, increasing the, improving the quality of the water running off the site here. Because
Before
right
it
now,
gets to that point,
right now, there is nothing out there. A lot of driveway area, house, and that's a lot of impervious areas. And now we're reducing the impervious area, but also collecting the water and treating it before it gets out, going through the wetlands and that create it. But also, we're reducing the volume, or the peak flows leaving the site as well.
And there is a tennis court, right in here, an existing court.
Yes.
And there's nothing on that, so that's 7,200 square feet right there alone, so that's a large area, plus the driveway that went to the property as well, so we're taking a lot of impervious areas out.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, we'll talk about this later then. Go to deliberation. Okay, the next.
Closing the hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I don't see any public, I don't think.
No, there's no public here, so, all right. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Somebody? Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Kelly. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. The next item of business is ZPC 43, 2019, Town of Darien, Weed Beach Park, 155 near Water Lane. Proposing trail construction in upland review area and wetland restoration. The site is shown on Assessor's Map number 56 as lot number 3-10.
My name is Jack Griesover with Weston and Sampson. And, here today for a public hearing for the Weed Beach project we went over last month.
Spell your name for
I
me?
was just going to ask.
Thank you.
Grieshober.
Thank you.
No problem. So just a quick recap here. The area that we're looking to review today is this multi-use asphalt trail that runs through the back area of Weed Beach Park, as well as the boardwalk in front. There's some minor parking improvements in front of the existing beach house there. And again, just as a reminder, this area here on what we've been calling the short lane parcels was previously approved last year by the board. Were there any questions from last time? Or outstanding issues?
How wide are the paths going to be?
Proposing about a 10-foot path right now.
A 10-foot path wide?
10 foot wide, yes.
Through the whole property?
Yes.
So then you're going to put 10 foot in the upland review area? Is that
10.
correct? No, the part that affects us.
Up in
is,
here.
Is, why don't you indicate for the commission where you're going to go in the upland review area?
For the trail, I mean?
The trail, where the disturbance is.
Yeah, well, the disturbance is, basically, if you see this bold line here, that's the limits of the tree line, and I believe in the package that we had sent you guys last time, there's a limit of disturbance line on there as well. It varies a little bit as you go along the path, depending on how far out we need to extend the grading revisions to allow the path to be constructed. So it can be anywhere from 2 feet. Some areas are a little bit wider, and obviously seen here, we've got a little bit more of a wider spot as far as overall disturbance area. Yes.
Please.
I went down there today, and it's very difficult to figure out where the path is. I was hoping that they may have put a perimeter or some kind of marker area through there, but there wasn't one, so I had to kind of guess. So one of the things that I was a little concerned on your demolition plan that you have, this one right here, it's a couple things kind of kicked out at me. Is that it's a very wide, you call it a clearing and grubbing area, almost 50 feet wide, in order to get the 10-foot area in there. It seems like that's a lot of disturbance to try to work with. Unlike, I went up to Diller Park, great, that came out very nice. Very little disturbance along the, 5-foot path there. So it seems like, that's a little concerning that all that disturbance is actually, if you went with this plan, it could be happening just to put that in. And then there were also no identification of any trees along that section coming down through there, which I thought was a little odd because you had them on the other side noted out there. And there are some very large oaks in there, kind of situated amongst this big disturbance area. So I guess I'm wondering why that wasn't put on the plan. And also, I didn't see any 50-foot marker from the wetlands on this plan. Maybe I'm missing it. Or 100 feet from Holly Pond. And so that would cross over the street and into that location, just to show a reference of where these 50-foot and 100-foot marks are.
Sure. So a couple things with your first point, as far as the clearing area. That's not driven so much by the width of the path as much as it is having to cut in to get the ADA compliant slopes built in. So there's some areas where we have to cut and then grade back out to allow. So even if we shrunk the path by a couple feet, you're still going to have to clear to get the grades back out to make the
Anything
path
in
a
that
little more.
space would be gone, right? A tree, any trees in that
Yes.
grading zone is gone.
Yes. We're doing our best to align the path to save as many of the larger trees as possible. I mentioned over here, there are some other ones, there's a cluster of them down here that we've kind of meandered through to attempt to reduce the amount that need to be removed. In addition, in some areas where we are clearing, we're proposing revegetating with new trees and new plantings, so it's not like it's going to be completely clear long-term, so it will eventually revegetate.
Are you planning on marking it so we could actually take a look and see?
We did have a
see where it
survey.
is?
We did have a survey crew out there a couple weeks ago. There might have been some, like the pink, survey tape.
There were some pink tapes, because I'm surprised I didn't see you. I was down there today too, and I saw some pink tape,
Yeah, there
around
should have been
trying to
some
indicate,
areas.
more or less where I'm going.
Yeah, and that would be roughly the center line. So there should be some areas out there.
So that's gonna be you're gonna put a 50-foot wide cutback?
No,
through those?
not
Okay.
in all the areas. Again, it's mostly just in the areas where we're cutting into a slope and we need to have room to bleed the grades back.
Okay.
But if you take a look and do a little, take a little ruler and figure this out, this is pretty darn wide for that whole section. And they took, you took your time to mark out where this was, so it wasn't just randomly.
Right,
But it's wide, very, very wide.
Correct, yeah, and the alignment is because that seemed to be the best path to get the compliant grades in there while minimizing the amount of disturbance. There's some parts on the site, if you were walking, you'll see that are much steeper than others. So by picking the more gradual areas, was our intent to reduce the amount of impacts and the amount of clearing needed.
What is the ADA compliant slope?
Typically 5%. You can exceed that for short runs, but 5% or below is the preferred slope.
And so did you, per the plan, the plan does show a material amount of disturbance. How many 5% grades do you need to manufacture to complete the path?
I'd have to check the grading plan itself. I know some of these areas are closer to the 2 and 3% range. There are a couple areas where we go up to 5, and I believe there's one area right in here where we exceed it for a short run, just to make the path.
So if you're looking, I think what we're trying to say is if you're looking at this map.
The demo plan.
Okay, I'm sorry?
That's the demo plan?
Is this the demo plan?
Yes.
Where there's wide berths is where you have to make your grade, right?
Correct.
So to me, it appears that the majority of the map has these wide berths, so there's a lot of work to make the grade. And what you just stated to the commission was most of the grade was existing, and only a couple of places do you need to make the 5% grade.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you mean the grades of the existing slope or the grades of our proposed?
No, the grade, my question was, what is the required grade slope for ADA compliance?
Right, which is 5% maximum.
Okay.
1 in 20, right.
Right. So the logic I'm following is if the demolition to manufacture this path looks material, then I would, assessing this map, it would tell me that there's a lot of 5% grading that needs to get done.
Of the path itself?
Ergo, there's a lot of disturbance.
Well, not necessarily, it's just as you cut into it, you know, there's some shorter runs that'll be 5% and then it graduals out, but you still have to chase the grade that you were cutting in back to tie in other spots.
I have a different opinion on that, but you're the expert.
Well, remember, we can only comment on the upland review area. That's where, you know, if we, in the upland review area, I don't believe has the 5% issue.
Does not have?
No, I don't
Did you
believe,
say?
no, I'm asking,
Oh, correct, I don't believe it's in that area. There's only a few spots where we're really hitting the max amount.
Are you able to point those out for us?
Yeah, I don't have them labeled on here, but I know in particular, this spot is steeper down through here, over in this area, and I believe there's one other, here might be not quite 5, but this is just a little steeper than the other areas, so.
I think you mentioned the path itself is proposed to be asphalt. Have you looked at any other alternatives?
Yeah, we did a materials alternatives analysis. We looked at doing porous, flexible pavement, gravel pave, mulch pave. Asphalt was chosen for this because it's the most easily maintained, it's the most economical, and you know, like I said, there's less maintenance involved with that.
It's also the most impervious, right?
Correct, although compacted gravel in some cases can be considered impervious.
When you say it's most economical, is that to maintain or to install? Or
Both.
so lifetime cost.
Correct, yeah. An asphalt path is going to require very little maintenance over time. Should last easily 20 years or so, 15, 20 years. If you do a more like a wood chip or a gravel paved path, you're constantly having to go out there and rake to ensure it's level, clear out ruts. So it's just a lot more maintenance over time.
So what's the disturbance when you start laying down this 10-foot path?
The disturbance area?
Okay, finish the question. Path is going to be 10 feet.
Correct.
Okay. How are you going to construct this? What kind of machinery are you going to bring in?
I'm not typically involved in the construction. I'm more on the design side, but my understanding is they would bring in an excavator, they would box out the area, they'd lay down the sub-base material, and then pave the path, grade out. So, I mean, I don't know exactly what
No,
machine they might bring.
because honestly, we would like, you know, I would like to see, you know, some hay bales around the wetlands in the area to make sure that stuff doesn't go out there.
Yep,
That
that's
you know,
all proposed
you know,
on our ENS plan.
You know, you've been out to construction sites. You know, they aren't the most gentle of people. They're going to go and do whatever they got to do to get the job done quick and fast. And so what I'd be afraid of is that might damage the wetland.
Sure. So on our erosion sediment control plan, which was included in that package, we outlined a number of measures we're going to take, including, as you said, the straw bale, silt fence combination around the wetland and any coastal areas, basically any area that's extremely sensitive. Otherwise, any downslope will have your standard silt fence. We believe we're proposing sediment traps as well to collect any sedimentation runoff, inlet protection where applicable in the parking lots, kind of all your standard erosion sediment control.
Are we okay to have a path in the 50-foot?
Well, that's the regulated activity that they're asking for to conduct.
If it affects the wetland. If it affects the wetland.
Yeah.
Remember, because
Right.
we're to protect the wetland,
Okay.
and therefore we're given jurisdiction that says, okay, well, you can't, you know, if,
It's not a prohibition. It's a permitted
Because
activity.
you could swing out of that 50-foot down to that one section, and not near the rocks, but the other side. But if it doesn't make that much difference, then you don't, no need to pull it off. The 50 feet
Right.
mark wasn't on there, so you had to kind of guess.
Yeah. Well, you could ask them, I mean, if they avoided it entirely, you wouldn't be here,
wouldn't be here.
really.
I'm not thinking it's a big
Yeah.
issue to me personally, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure we could avoid it entirely just because of the rock.
There's a lot of
outcropping
rock
areas.
and so
Yeah,
forth.
the one
so-
side with the rock.
So the alternative of avoiding any disturbance in the upland review area does put it into that hillside. So,
What is the ecological impact and the stormwater runoff impact of petroleum-based and PCB-based and all the other rather toxic ingredients in asphalt?
So we've been looking into that. We haven't found anything that suggests putting in an asphalt path would cause any ecological damage. Most of the concern with asphalt is in the areas of roads and parking lots where the contaminants drop off of cars and other vehicles and then wash off of that because it's impervious. But this being a pedestrian and bicycle path, you'll get negligible, if any, of those contaminants on this pathway.
So, I don't understand. If they're petroleum-based products, it's my understanding, and someone please correct me if I'm wrong, it's my understanding that other wetland conservations and municipalities actually remediate asphalt out of the wetlands. So it would not be a first choice to have an asphalt path in the wetland or the upland review area. And the application is suggesting that asphalt be used based on an economic and a maintenance perspective. But my opinion on a wetland, an ecological perspective is that there are better alternatives. Now, they may be more costly or require more maintenance, but they would be inert.
I don't think I think what he's saying is that this is not a driveway or a road, but there's no car, the contaminants typically come after construction. The actual placing of the asphalt itself isn't a contaminant. I've never heard that, and I haven't been able to find anything. I mean, I have seen asphalt paths through, natural areas, but they're not roads. They're not driven on. And
so if you put
the actual placing of the asphalt is not putting a petroleum product into a wetland. Conceivably, there are, let's say you get a super hot day and there's some slight oil that comes off the asphalt, and then suddenly you get a rainstorm. There might be some wash, but then it would have to go overland. And could the wetland handle a small amount of that? More than likely it could. You'll be talking about a minuscule amount. And, I did talk to Darren about that, and that was his comment, is that it would be a super hot day. And, and you can see sometimes a little bit of sheen on a pavement, and then that might or might not run off. But if you did get a thunderstorm, it could run off. But my interpretation would be that it would be minuscule. As far as contaminating the wetland, I just don't see any expert testimony that there's something that's going to actually physically reach the wetland in such a volume that it's going to physically change the wetland.
Okay.
Also, the fact that they're restoring the wetland, well, actually, Phragmites is probably something that would handle it better than anything. But if they're restoring the wetland can handle, minuscule amounts of that kind of runoff.
Can I ask a question about that? Phragmites, I mean, what I was reading in the proposal is a 3-year process. It may or may not work well. It's more than 3 years. It's forever.
Yeah, there was
Is that worth the expense to try to just try to get rid of something?
It is.
It's going to pop back in again?
Well, it is. It's on a town property, you actually have the commitment to keep after it. It is a long-term process. And the two ways of getting rid of Phragmites or introducing salt water, which if you look at the area, a portion of that wetland is tidal marsh. And it actually looks reasonably healthy. It looks pretty good.
Right, in the middle of the center.
Yeah, the fringe, which is inland wetland because it's higher in elevation, and it's above that 5.8 elevation, is no longer tidal, even though it gets occasional tidal flow in heavy tides, high tides. But it is worth trying to keep restored, especially a small area. You can't introduce more salt water in that location, but the other alternative is to constantly cut it. And some groups use rodeo, which is the aquatic form of Roundup. Some people don't like to do that, I know the land trust uses.
I was just gonna offer
The land
to-
trust uses rodeo.
Bill, the, Chris Filmer and Den Frolinghausen could give you chapter and verse
Okay.
on all the
Yeah.
Phragmites that were
So there's been
removed on
success.
land trust.
There is
property.
success.
Successfully.
Okay. That's-
Very
that's-
successfully.
Yeah.
But
If you're,
the-
And it is work, it's not something.
Yeah.
It's-
It takes
it's-
work, but it actually does.
it does, in my experience,
Improve.
the longer you keep at it, the more you give the chance for native plants to outcompete the Phragmites.
That's right.
So if you're diligent about it, if this were a homeowner proposing it, I might be skeptical, because are they gonna do that every year for 5 years, 10 years?
That's
But I
good.
think the town will be,
It's a manageable size.
it's definitely a manageable size, yeah.
Great.
I'm still having a hard time coming to grips with the need or the suggestion to use, for economic reasons, asphalt. We're Darien residents, yet my wife and I like to walk in Waveney Park in New Canaan often. I actually have a picture of the path, and it's 9 feet wide, 10 feet wide, call it. To me, it looks like I could go out and do that with a bunch of our fellow commissioners with a bobcat. Scrape away the things that are in the way, put down gravel, and I have never, in 35 years of walking Waveney, seen a maintenance crew out there. I don't know that it requires lots of maintenance, like.
I don't know, is it ADA compliant? That I don't know.
That part, I don't know the detail on that.
So just remember too, the asphalt is also there because it's the easiest to get ADA accessible. If we were to do something like gravel or wood chips, it might look okay, but if you get that rutting or on the steeper sloped areas, if you get washout, it's a constant effort to regrade, refill, recompact. It has to meet a lot of requirements in order to meet the ADA accessibility guidelines, be compliant. So asphalt allows that to be almost a non-issue, really, as far as keeping it ADA compliant throughout the
Except
course
it's
of
going
its
to
life.
buckle over time, as we talked about before, with tree roots and things, so you're going to have to still be in there maintaining it.
Yeah, but not nearly as much as you would with replacing, compacting, regrading. And remember too, as we're clearing out for the grading, we're removing some of those trees, so you're going to get less roots, and the asphalt's going to have a subbase underneath that will allow it a little bit more movement than if you just kind of put it right on top of the earth. A lot of times when you see issues like that, it's built more or less on top of earth, where it really starts to get those bad buckles.
But you've only proposed 4 inches of subbase, correct?
No.
How many inches of subbase?
We're still working out the final details, but it would likely be somewhere between 8 and 12 inches.
Okay. Have you considered, and that's a substantial amount of work too, have you considered using GeoGrid?
As like a
If you
A gravel- for the gravel?
No, for the walkway, you lay the GeoGrid down, and then you fill the GeoGrid, and the GeoGrid holds the
yes, fill it with a granular
Yeah,
material.
it doesn't let it wash out, it compacts very easy, stays compacted.
Yes, we did look at those products. We talked to the manufacturers of those, and they had some issues again with, especially on the sloped areas, having it kick out and wash out and rutting. So again, as far as maintenance goes, it was still going to be more to maintain. If you get the gravel out of there, you get lots of gaps and holes, so it's no longer compliant.
Well, so let me ask this question, does the entirety of the path have to be asphalt?
Well, the entirety of the path is intended to be ADA compliant, multi-use trail. So rather than have a lot of material breaks, which can be uncomfortable, keeping it one material allows it to meet those requirements in every location.
So when the asphalt pathway cracks and breaks and heaves, which it will, is it ADA compliant at that point?
At that point, no, you'd have to go and replace that patch of it, but that will happen less frequently than, especially, as I mentioned, we have some spots that are creeping up on that 5% slope. That makes it highly susceptible to washout, rutting. So the maintenance of repairing a small patch is going to be far less than going out there constantly to regrade, recompact, bring in new material to fill in what's washed away. Any other questions?
Maintenance in the winter, anything going to be, are they plowing this, putting anything, is it, in the wintertime, is this just natural?
That would be a town decision, whether or not it be maintained in the year-round. I can speak to that.
Please, Pam.
Good evening, Pam Geary.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Pam Geary.
Thank you.
Gery.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Maintenance-wise, we had a discussion, Park Supervisor's been involved in the planning, and he finds that there's going to be very little maintenance in terms of additional maintenance, because they're there continuously during the different seasons. And we've also invested in a stand-up unit that blows leaves and blows snow too. So it's automatic, it's on wheels. They've never had, they bought one already, we're gonna invest in another. So certainly that would be saving a lot of time as well.
So the wintertime, you would do that. Do you get to the point where it's ADA, we have to worry about slippery spots, we're putting sand down, we're putting salt down? I mean, is there a certain point where ADA says, okay, we plow it, that's enough, or do you have to do all that other stuff?
No, as a town, we would make sure that it was sanded, and it would make its clearing like they do any other park that we have now. Absolutely.
Lighting?
We've talked about lighting, but low lighting. So we're not looking for this path to be open after dusk. So, but we do think that the boardwalk along the beach, people would be very favorable to walk at night. So we were thinking about low lighting solar along that, so that perhaps you could take an evening stroll and at least you'd have some lighting.
But maybe not in the wetland area where you're trying to have more of a natural setting.
Right, right. But we do think it's going to be very popular. So we do think that we have discussed about lighting, but certainly, money is, we have to consider that too, how much we can actually do. But safety is number one.
During the season, spring, summer, it seems, Weed Beach gets a lot of activity. Just has anyone looked at what the increase in activity this project might bring in terms of just numbers?
I think our feeling is that the site itself is very underutilized, considering you have 25 acres of land, and really only a small percentage of that acreage is used. So during the summer, yes, you're right, along the shoreline, along the beaches and the bathhouse and the paddle hut and the tennis courts are very well utilized, and they're busy, and it's wonderful to see that busyness. But behind the lot, and of course the town having invested in that property, Short Lane, and we can continue to refer to it as Short Lane, I think it was a big charge for us to say, what are you going to do with that property? We spent a lot of money on it, and how are we going to connect it now? And I think this is what we thought would be really useful for, as I mentioned before last time, how many people are out trying to teach the child to ride a bike, but they're in the parking lot. Now we'll have almost a 1 mile loop, safe loop off the road, that people can, take their scooter, take their wheelchair, take their bike, run, walk, and be able to have a, coming and going because of the width, and be able to enjoy that. I was just looking at a town outside of Connecticut that has a 100-mile paved pathway throughout their park, that's heavily used. And I think it's just going to be, it's going to offer residents of all ages something to do all seasons.
Jackson, Wyoming.
Maybe.
And we have a maintenance plan so that things like sanding and salting don't impact the wetlands?
Well, we do today.
Okay.
So Jim Flynn, again, as we assess these pathways, he really feels as if it's going to be pretty nominal because we're investing in very good equipment now that's going to help us work faster. And so he really doesn't feel that there's going to be a huge increase in maintenance. They're there, seasonally. They're there. They have a crew there every single day. Whether they're there for 2 hours, 3 hours, or but he feels that if they work more, plus we're up one more full-time person, which is a big help because we were down a full-time person for 3 years. So now we got a full crew again. They're hard workers. We have a phenomenal park crew.
So if you get 6 inches of snow and the trail is open in the winter, you're going to exclusively put sand down on the path within the upland review area, or are you going to put calcium and sand down on the path?
I would have our
The
park
town
supervisor
uses
speak
sand,
to
the town
that.
doesn't use sand.
Right, true.
The town doesn't use sand anymore.
They use calcium.
They use salt.
Mhm.
yeah.
Calcium sulfate.
Yes.
Calcium sulfate.
I
And
think they
certainly,
use-
we take our most immediate areas that need to get cleaned first. So it's not as if we have this, mile pathway, they're gonna do the areas like, all our parking lots first, that they have to get done first. And then secondly, they're gonna go to the recreation areas like the paddle hut now. So of course, paddle is very busy in the wintertime, so our crew knows that when they're done doing the parking lots and the pathways that are safety first, then they're gonna go to the paddle hut, courts. So if people have to wait for certain areas to be open, that's what we've been doing for years. No different.
But the paddle in the parking lot isn't in the designated upland review area that we're speaking to, where the paths are now.
Correct, no.
So that's my differentiation.
Right. They're very conscientious of the wetlands and the areas that they have to clear.
Okay.
Anybody else? The member of the public? No? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing? What do you, thank you, Susan. Somebody else? Thank you, William. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing's closed. Okay, working down the agenda, we're down to agent approvals, EPC 47, 2019, Susan Jacobson, no relation.
Nope.
3 Holly Lane, proposing pool replacement in an upland review area. The site is shown on assessor's map number 9 as lot number 69. Everybody got that? So, any questions for Rich?
One thing, as a new guy,
Yeah,
I
the new-
love this first impression, you can actually see right up front from their photo what they're talking about.
The
Can they all do
gentleman who did that is the owner's son-in-law. He works for AECOM in the city. They build bridges and all these projects. When he sent me the
But you know
PDF of that application, I said, yeah, this is good, you did a...
But you can, what I'm
I didn't
thinking-
want to tell him it was more than I needed, but that's fine. He
But on
put
Eagle,
together-
on Google Earth, you can force that up.
No, he did a good
If the
job on
applicants
it,
could
yeah.
throw this on the front of everything, it immediately gives you,
That's not a bad idea.
where you are on,
Yeah.
before you start looking at
Yeah.
the detail. That's my own.
That's a nice job. It is cool. Although 3 Holly is, Lower Holly Lane is always, what was the number where?
Well,
where the house was built?
you've dealt with 5,
5.
11, and 10 in
Yeah.
the last 10 years.
Yep. Yeah.
Or, I should say a little more than that, but yeah.
So any other questions for Rich? No, it's, okay. Moving on the other business, a discussion of the watershed stewardship education program. Okay, we'll get to it in January, February then, okay.
I will send something out before the end of the year, so we have something
Nope.
to discuss.
Listen, it's the holiday, so I hope you have something better to do than this. Election of a secretary, we have to elect officers. We'll do that in February, at the February meeting. So everybody's aware, we need a chairman, a vice chairman, and a secretary. So we'll be, that's something, the minutes of November 6th. Anybody have any comments for Rich?
Yes, sir.
You did? Did you give them to, I'd be
I haven't
disappointed if you
given them
didn't.
yet. Rich, you have Pam Geary, who just spoke with us, 2 different spellings, so I'm just pointing that out. Near the bottom of the, and I think she said her name is Gery.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
I misspelled it
We have
somewhere?
an H somewhere.
Oh, I see it. I added an A. Okay, yep.
I'm used to the Gery spelling, but I think.
No, it's Gery is correct.
Maybe this, it's a small point, maybe it's covered in the sentence below, but on the third paragraph, page 1, Mr. Jewson asked if the path would be asphalt. Mr. Mayor said yes. He said they want to surface, they want
A surface.
a surface.
Yeah.
I missed that, just caught it. A surface suitable for biking, period. To me, I think it's a more expanded message in the minutes,
Oh, it should be suitable
as well
for-
as ADA accessible or any other words
Okay.
to that effect.
Yep.
I think you want plural for parks, and the commission discussed other surface materials. At other parks such as stone and wood chips. I still prefer gravel myself, but not discussing the minutes, sorry. I think you're slightly redundant in your preparation of these, Rich. Line 3 on page 2. You told us a minute ago that Doug
yeah,
DeVesta is
yeah.
representing the applicant. I
Yeah.
think you can delete that.
Yep.
Next paragraph, he said the existing house will remain and have a code complying septic system. I think that's proper English. I would write
think
it as compliant.
I think complying is correct, but I'll check.
Either one probably works. Sorry for being such a pain.
No, you're not.
I think that's how they say it, but I'll check.
I think you want past tense on the, he described. Mr. Pop provided a wetland assessment report. Next sentence, he described with a D the proposed mitigation. And then my esteemed colleague on my left, and the next one down is the next last sentence. Mr. Irvin suggested they provide active present tense mitigation.
Oh, provide, yeah, yep.
And then the Aquarian water people is spelled 2 different ways on the last page.
Okay.
And you're welcome to have those.
Okay,
Oh, yeah. Even the A on the second one.
okay. Oh, he's got it here, I'll just put these notes, okay.
I have no more comments, Mr. Chairman.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Jim got my aquarium, I noticed the aquarium thing and Pam Geary, we already got those, so.
No. Okay, with those modifications, may I have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Gunnar. Thank you, Susan. All in favor? Okay, one abstention, Mr. Wright didn't
wasn't
attend.
here either.
Okay, so 2 abstentions, Rich?
Good point.
Okay, they weren't there. Before we adjourn, do we want to talk about 765 Hollow Tree Ridge Road and Weed Beach Park? Just so that, who wants to start with 765 Hollow Tree?
I think they've addressed all the concerns for the most part. It looks like they've really, there'd be a net reduction in accretion, an addition in wetland space on the property, which is a net positive to me. And their planting, Matthew Pop's planting plans look pretty comprehensive, so. I was there, I walked around the property today and for about the 3rd time, and I think I like what they're doing.
I second the Gunnar's notions.
Michael, Susan, and
They've been very thoughtful and I think they went out of their way to accommodate our concerns, and Joe Canis is satisfied.
Yep. Yep, agreed. Also? So, and I'd agree. I think they made large steps from what we saw in the first public hearing to today. So, yeah, Rich, you want to write that one up then to?
I can do that.
Okay. Second public hearing, Weed Beach Park. Okay. I'm disappointed in the asphalt, quite frankly, but, because do I think it does, but, I don't think I have enough,
If it were.
that warrants it.
Yeah, I don't have an expert saying there's some significant adverse impact from runoff from an asphalt path.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to write a partial denial, and essentially that's what it would be. It would be a partial denial. And
part
my
of it's
personal
optics.
opinion is that it doesn't have an impact.
It doesn't look good along a water area, I think that you were talking about, but if they put a boardwalk along our area that we're talking about,
Yeah.
it would look great. Optics would look, does petroleum cause a real problem? Probably not, but optics, it would look like you're.
Actually, I could tell you, the Worcester Polytechnic Institute, 2010, wrote a very large thesis on the effect of polycarbonates in asphalt and stormwater retention and ecology. And former members of this board have had experience with just other municipalities, other applications, where it is not a desirable product in a conservation or ecologically sensitive area. I am not an expert. We didn't have an expert challenge. I can say this till I'm blue in the face, so I'll just shut up now.
Well, that said, Bill, what they have to do is, I
think there are alternatives.
I think there are other alternatives, and I think there's going to come to, I've heard that there's a rather large number associated with this project. Okay, and so just all the asphalt itself has got, a mile worth of asphalt. It's got to be, it has to be a big number.
And the annual maintenance fee on this?
So they came back and they said, they haven't raised the money because I think they're raising it through private funds. And so I imagine who's ever giving the private funds will have a determinant, will be determinant in how they do that. So that's my opinion. And so I think what they're all asking for is to put a path through here, and but that I don't, they have 5 years to do it. Okay, I don't think they're going to be, I don't, quite frankly, I don't think they have the money yet. The money hasn't been assigned, and it said, somebody's not here saying, here's the signed check. Go build this.
I've run, walked, and bicycled all over Waveney Park, like Jim has. I mean, those trails are fine. Woodland Park has great trails. None of them are asphalt. You can do all that stuff in Woodland Park. Same as wood. I don't like the idea of asphalt. And then I hadn't even thought about the maintaining it during the winter time, plowing it, putting down salt. Are you kidding me? I mean,
It's a salt marsh. It's a salt marsh adjacent to it, so, I mean, I
don't know, I just think that's really bad. I don't like that idea at all.
Is there a difference between calcium sulfide and?
I think they use sodium chloride. I think it's
or
sodium chloride.
Sodium, right, excuse me.
It's
Sodium.
unfortunate.
I didn't go to. I didn't do
No, but I think,
chemistry class.
I think both are
I went to
used.
business school.
I think both are used.
You didn't teach that.
I think both are used, but I think Darien uses sodium chloride, but I'll check on that.
But is it just highly concentrated salt, or is it caustic to, overuse of it?
Well, overuse
Is,
could be an issue, overuse, but I mean, the amount of salt, I mean, sand was a bigger problem to wetlands in Darien for many years, was a much bigger problem than salt.
Look at Gorham Pond.
And
The washing on 95 coming
salt,
into.
with salt, it's the time of year. It's, when you're using salt, it's not during fish breeding season. So by spring, when the fish are breeding, presumably they're not using, the salt at those times. So by that time, it's run off and diluted and out in the ocean. So, but yeah, sand is a bigger problem. So I know the town doesn't use sand. They don't even stockpile it.
I was, just as a side, I was a little surprised that the entirety of the path had to be paved asphalt.
I seem very focused on the ADA compliant.
Well, all I can say to that is that the applicant's choice is to do something that that their landscape architect and expert, who, I know Eric and I talked about this, we presume is also some would, they also have experts in ADA compliance, because that's what they do. They build things, and that, if they don't, then they shouldn't have a license. So when they come and they say, this is how we want to do it, unless you can find a significant impact to the wetland, a physical impact to the wetland, I mean, I think you're obligated to give them a permit. As far as the cost, my comment to Pam is that it's a 5-year permit. So maybe they only build the short lane piece, maybe they do that, because that's all, a big component. A lot of that is that little kind of amphitheater that they're doing, and there's a lot of grading. So maybe that's one phase. Maybe they do that, next year, and then, maybe they do the boardwalk, in 1 year along the water, or they do the path and not do the boardwalk. If they break it down, they've got 5 years renewable to 10.
Another 5, yeah.
So, I mean, they've essentially got 10 years to build it. So, again, and funding is, not something you need to be concerned with, or how much it costs.
I'm still back in the 60s with Judy Collins, who said pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
No, they paint paradise.
Can
I tell you,
we're
what were you
talking
drinking that
about
Paint
mostly
paradise.
Budweiser. Well, paint paradise. And I used to, we don't as actively anymore, used to use that walk a lot. And I said this to you earlier today, and maybe to Michael, when we were at the Sugar Bowl. I don't know that you need any kind of a path through there, in my own opinion. I think the Waveney solution to one individual on this commission is much preferred. I realize that it may be more difficult access, but I don't know that it prevents access to someone who's challenged. You can ride a bike on gravel paths, as you suggested you do, Gunnar. I know there's routes and stuff. I tried to look at the plan as submitted to try and understand how much that grade. I realize the 5% rule. I'm not an engineer. I also went to business school, probably should have spent more time in engineering. But you're only talking about, as far as I was able to see it, 10 feet up to 16. I thought at the back area towards Brush Island Road. Okay, so maybe that's a little bit of a challenge. The other thing, something Pam said that rung in my head anyway, is that it's very underutilized in there. I know the beach in the summer is fantastic, but going up behind the tennis courts and around the backside of I always call them the front tennis courts, I never saw another person there. And I don't know that creating this path is going to turn this into a major public highway. I don't know how often this thing's really going to be used.
What I thought was interesting was, I noticed the exercise machines. Where the people would stand to use the exercise machines, there was no grass. It was only dirt.
Right.
Which meant that there was somebody out there, using the exercise machines area right there. Now, where they walked, et cetera, obviously didn't create any paths because there was grass.
It's grass, it's wide open, and you can wander through there.
But it is underutilized. I have to agree with you there. It is underutilized. I mean, even, before they put in the back tennis courts or the paddle tennis courts, I mean, you'd walk up that little hill and meet the rest of your friends. Okay, that was sort of like a teenage hangout back then, way back when. But after that,
They've kind of created their own, some of the dirt paths they've got in there now, right?
Yeah.
They start opening it up. They can continue doing the same, they bushwhack a little bit, and they just
Right.
create those same things around there, and that's a low-cost deal, doesn't have any impact on anything, and all of a sudden, see if people start using it. But that's not what they want, they want to go further, so.
no, I understand they want to go further, and we can only comment on
Yeah.
the upland review area. So, if they wanted to put a 3-lane highway in, would I agree with it? No, but I can comment on, this commission can comment on the upland review area, and if they use NaCl, okay, sodium chloride, it runs off into a salt marsh. You know, okay, it's not gonna, that's not, if it was, you know, fresh water, then I'd have a bigger issue with that, but they don't. And so, what I want to see, she mentioned that they have a machine that
Blows leaves and snow.
blows leaves and snow. Have you seen that?
No, she said leaves and rocks.
No.
No, snow.
Snow, I understood
I
snow.
thought, oh, I'm sorry.
You,
stones.
are you aware of something like that, Michael?
So it's a snow blower with a blower coming out the side.
I have no idea.
So the cross-country skiers are gonna be pissed, you know?
I don't think
That's a
they
good
go there
point,
anyway,
yeah,
but,
the cross-country skiers, but.
so, anyway,
I'd prefer to leave the snow.
If I wanted to go through a nature walk in a wetland area, I think I wouldn't want to be reminded of asphalt.
Nor do I.
But I'm just making a quick little joke about it.
yeah, I don't know how we, and I agree with Rich, to say it's against my instinct because nature's nature, and asphalt is asphalt.
What,
But on the other hand, I don't have the grounds, you know, I don't see the grounds for us to be able to twist something around here to say, hey, no, the Upland Review area piece must be gravel, must be another item, okay? And so, unless, what do you people come up with something that we don't have a basis for denial?
the ship has already sailed, but is there a reason why Joe didn't peer review this application? Is it because it's a town application? Town applications don't get peer reviewed?
Well, in terms of engineering and so forth.
Yeah. Or
no,
environmental impact? We're talking
Well,
about.
Joe's, that's not
Or
necessarily
I'm
Joe's
just saying
field either.
peer review in general.
Oh, I mean, I didn't see it warranted I mean, I talked to Darren about it,
Okay.
basically.
You're the decision maker on that.
No, the
We are.
commission, the commission could have reviewed it, sent it
I
to
mean,
Joe.
we could have said it and we would have had this conversation. But
But I
Darrell
have-
Ostafine reviewed it.
Right.
But
Okay, so-
there's no significant drainage, engineering.
It's just a question.
It's just, to me, it was just grading, but that's why I didn't suggest it, but, you know, the commission makes that decision.
So now, planning and zoning will see this because they're CAM or because there's gonna be enough
CAM.
significant?
And grading,
And
land
grading.
filling and grading, and again, a portion of that wetland, most of that wetland is tidal. Your regulated wetland is a fringe.
Mhm.
It's just the edge of that wetland. Mostly if you look at the Phragmites, I would guess that's probably because that doesn't get the salt, the salt water.
Mhm.
Yeah, because on the other side of Brush Island, where Holly Pond is, it's nice. There's no Phragmites there.
Yeah.
It's looking good.
Right.
Limited Phragmites.
Yeah, because that gets constant daily flushing. If you look at Phragmites removal around the state, the two methods are reintroducing salt water on a constant daily basis and what the land trust does, which is cutting it and hitting it with rodeo.
Mhm.
And they've done a lot of it.
They have, and they've done
And quite well.
tremendous with it, yeah.
Oh. All right. Unless somebody else had any comments, Rich, you can write up that one?
Yeah.
And we'll vote on it.
My only last comment is, and I forget who on this panel used the word, you walk through there and it's bucolic. When the asphalt highway goes through there, bucolic goes away.
Well, they've got an extensive planting plan, and it's 10 feet wide, that's true. 10 feet is
No, it's
not
a
a
50-foot
normal
wide.
nature
No.
trail, but again, it's got to be, you got to have, I believe it's a minimum for two people to pass each other in wheelchairs. I mean, it gets
60
really,
inches.
it gets really technical in terms of what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't get into that. I don't have any expertise in ADA
I
compliance.
understand.
The commission can't make it not be asphalt, but the people of Darien can go and speak to the commission, the
Sure.
Park and Recs.
I mean, if you feel so moved when it comes in
Sure.
front of planning and zoning and look at their agenda, and when they have their public hearing, the floor is yours. I mean, I wouldn't mind it.
It's a good public hearing to attend.
Pardon?
It's It's a good public hearing to attend.
Yeah, I'm sure that goes to public hearing.
10-foot wide paved
Yeah, but I
path
think
at
it's got
Wheat Beach.
support.
In a park.
I mean,
It's
you didn't
not a-
have
10
public
feet wide is a
opposition.
road.
No?
It's
No,
not
no one.
So I'm assuming it has support.
That's pretty wide.
How did this get distributed for the public hearing to neighbors and such?
Within 100 feet of,
That's it, huh?
of the property line.
Anything put in the paper?
Yes, yeah. So it's
'Cause I'm
noticed
surprised
twice.
with the number of people on the pear tree arrangement that people just didn't show up for anything with the beach.
There was much more community living right
Pear
down the
Tree
street
Point.
from that. There was much more community notice for that. Individuals
Pear
went
Tree
around
Point.
for Pear Tree Point, yeah.
Well, that's off the, a little off topic here, and we can
Yeah.
take that off.
Sorry,
Yeah.
moving on.
Let's just, let's stay,
Sorry.
we don't want to get into that one.
Yes.
That one's not ours. Okay, other than that, Rich,
I have nothing else.
okay. May I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Kelly. Anybody else? Oh, thank you, Susan, wanting to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.